Hi everyone, the Mature Simmer here. So welcome to a map tour of Spring Creek, North Dakota. So this is basically described as a remake, sort of. So the description from the modder, or from the map author, AFB Mapping, is FS22 Spring Creek map, or a Hastings remake, whatever, as a lot of people like the Hastings map. I decided to remake it from zero and make it bigger and better. The map features a lot of things, including a stunning landscape, a town, a BGA plant, fields varying from small to huge, some forests, a lot of trees, and a lot more things. So we'll see if that's accurate and what we've got. So just on basic easy mode, like I normally do, just to see what they set you up with. And you're out here in pretty sparse setup. You got a couple sheds, you got a house, you got a silo, and you've got some equipment. So tractors, the basic stuff you need to work things. 3 more tractors over here. A harvester, it's nice to see. I don't think it's the Deutschfahr harvester, no, it's a New Holland. So at least it's something different than a lot of map authors use. And once again, I think, it's North Dakota. It's going to be flat. It's going to be pretty general. But I've spent a little bit of time just trying to get my head around this thing because it is massive. I think it's a 12 by 12 map, which, I don't know. I've heard various people calling it a 16x map. I've heard some people calling it a 36x map. Whatever it is, it's large. So, and I also couldn't easily figure out, like, okay, did they have the Hastings map and then put it in one corner and then, suddenly make it something else? There's just a lot to look at and a lot to go through, so trying to figure it out, it's just overwhelming, frankly. So let's jump into the PDA. So this is Spring Creek. It doesn't say, the map author didn't indicate anything that this is based on a real location, but it appears again to kind of at least be a map overlay over certain things. So we're down here. You can see we're blinking down in this area, so that is where we're at. And it's just hard to get an understanding of the scale. Best I can tell, this center section is kind of the largest, so it looks like we've got 390 fields at least on this map. I've not seen anything larger than that. And obviously these look, there's just a lot of fields. It's small, but you've got to keep in mind the scale of this thing. And this is where I think Farming Simulator does a poor job, because obviously these icons, make everything look, oh, well, these are pretty big. If we poke around on the map here, and I am kind of going to jump around because, frankly, I think this is going to be relatively short, because while there's been a lot of other things, description from the modder, I mean, that may be, like, as you drive around, and I certainly haven't gone very far. It's North Dakota, it's flat, it's got some trees, but, there's a lot of bins, so most of these things are just bins, which I assume would be to give you the opportunity to start a farm. The town is here, there's a bakery, there's, your anhydrous, they've gone ahead and put the anhydrous in again, cereal factory, and a couple things like that. If I go ahead and look at where you can sell your crops, you can see, I mean, they've given you some areas around to sell things. So you do have different areas of the map, but they're basically just placed around. And you'll see it's kind of the same thing, and obviously it's letting you buy things from these buying stations, which I think is what is sitting on our property as well. Can't do anything with grapes or olives. The spinnery does something with corn, which is interesting, and soybeans, where it doesn't. I guess it does buy all the crops too. So, a little intriguing how that's laid out. And then I did notice, you can do things like eggs, wool, and milk. There's a few places, but again, there's no dairy. You'd have to place that if you were going to do that. And so, you can't do anything with cereal, no clothes, no fabric. So even though in theory there's a spinnery, there's only so much you can do with your wool. Planks and furniture, similarly, are not usable. Crop calendar has no changes. So the other thing I found intriguing, if I am just going to run over here to 177, and it'll give us a little bit of an example of what we've got. So you're going to see we've got 4.2, 15.07, 64.88, and 5.98. So we've got 4 fields in a land area of 148.54. As I ran around this earlier, again, it's a large map, so I'm not going to do that in this video because it takes a little while. They're all grass, which is great if that's what you want. If not, obviously starting out in easy mode, you're then immediately having to plow up and or replant these fields to something else. And frankly, with the equipment you get, you don't even get a large starting tractor. Everything just seems a little off to me with the map. You're talking about one of the largest scale maps released for FS22, which I think is what the author is going for, is just trying to overwhelm you with scale. But then it's like we put Tinker Toys on the farm. Who's going to work any of these fields? I mean, I get they're a 4-acre field or so forth, but you've got this giant landscape available to you, and you're going to start with tiny equipment. I don't understand, because that harvester also does less than 10,000 liters. And with all the grass planted, you'd think we might have mowers, other things like that. But let's take a look at the starting equipment. So again, we've got one 175 horsepower small tractor. Then we have a 300 horsepower and 190 and a 175. So in essence, really technically 3 small tractors and 1 medium tractor at 300. The harvester, as I said, 9,300 liters. I added the car to do the driving tour. You've got a 22,000 liter trailer, 8.5 meter header, 6 meter corn header, a plow at 2.5 meters that in North Carolina you'd probably just take yourself out back and give up if you're going to plow fields with that. Cultivator 7.5 meters, seeders 12 meters. You've got a roller to start with, which is different than I've seen. A decent sized sprayer. Again, the typical 12 meter spreader. So that's what you've got. But as I said, for fields where you've got 4 fields planted in grass, and you've got nothing for grass work, when you're starting with 100,000, again, I'm down to 75 because I bought the truck. It just doesn't make sense. So let's go back out to the map and look at land values. So if I'm here in my area, you can see 148.54, 811, 523. So the other thing that I noticed that kind of really turned me off from this being, in my mind at least, the way I typically play or do things remotely playable, is I can't buy these fields individually. And I understand that there may have probably been challenges in trying to subdivide this. I mean, they've got little things up here, like you can buy field 106, field 1 over here, and it takes a while because it's a gigantic map. So I have clicked on 1. All right, we're finally back. It's 123.82 acres, so it's nearly the same size, but that's now just 1 field. If I click on 106, 21.04 acres, a little under $115,000. And then there's parcels like this, 114, which you're mainly buying rivers, so you're paying $180,000. But you know, if you look at what that looks like without the overlay, you've literally got this tiny bit of field. So you're probably like at a 4-acre field or something, maybe a 10-acre field in that whole space. But the challenge starts to become, let's say I wanted to get some fields near me, you know, any of these fields here. First off, I have to buy this whole block, which is nearly 600 acres, $3.2 million. If I'm starting out with $100,000, or even if I'm starting out at the high level with a million or 1.25 million, it's going to take me a long time to be able to do anything. And because I must buy, in this case, 5 fields at once, it's just going to slow your progress. Again, I do acknowledge there are smaller areas like this, but keep in mind, small is relative on this map. Again, it's very similar in size to this. It's still 135 acres, which means it's still $750,000. Nothing's inexpensive on this map except tiny little parcels that, are gonna give you some challenges. The other thing to note is really the productions are up here. On a map that is this large, I'm going to go ahead and you can see here's the shop. So we're going to try to drive over to our farm, and we're gonna also try to drive up there, and I'll kind of see how long that takes. Let's go ahead and jump into the flying tour. So here we are up in the air. These are our fields. So the other thing that is interesting is this thing here is field 76. And you can see there's trees that divide it other than these little lines and so forth. I'm going to imagine Courseplay, if it even can work on this map. And I did try to load it. I was unable to get the map loaded with Courseplay, so I'm not even sure Courseplay is usable. The other problem you've got, and yes, this is a, as we saw, a 4-acre field, this little strip, which is field 174. It's right on the edge of the map. When I walked over there, I can walk right off the edge of the map and fall off the edge. So you're going to have that same problem that I've had on things like Shellbrook and so forth, where I had the tractor fall off the map and so forth. So just inappropriate boundaries, plus nothing visually that gives you any boundaries. But yeah, what you can see, pretty, 362,000 per acre, 330,000 per acre. I'm not quite sure how it figures all that out. The potential yield, like any of the tools that are out there really just kind of fall apart on this map. And so I will try to get Courseplay loaded just to see if I can do things. But, as you might expect with a North Carolina map, flatness is the thing. And so if you're looking for a lot of fields, kind of in the middle of nothing, you've got that. Now we just passed field 390 over there. It's that field there. Keep in mind 390 is in the center of the map. We're on a flying tour. I'm set at 15 times speed, and this is how long it's taking us just to traverse north-south on this map. So you can get a little bit of an idea. They did talk about forests and trees. Maybe these are what pass for forests in North Carolina. I guess there's something there that is a little bit more, or North Carolina, North Dakota, sorry. But you're not going to make money, and again, I don't know that anybody would use a map like this. Frankly, that looks like it's going to be a problem. That's the corner of the map. Pretty sure if we walk over there, it's going to be an unpleasant experience. So yeah, if we head over here, alright, well, we've fallen off the edge of the map, but we did at least get to the edge. Alright, so I think that gives you a bit of an idea. what we're talking about. So the other thing I noticed, which is, yeah, I get it's a gigantic map. You know, the main roads here, there are roads, but literally the texture for everything else is this stuff that was on our farm, the rock-strewn gravel. And so it's like, hey, look at that, right near a shop. Super exciting. No, not super exciting. I can't fill up. There, you can see on the mini-map, this isn't a fuel point. So once again, this map has been released just like Hastings, without anywhere to get fuel. You'd have to install your own fuel station and go from there. So let me figure out how to get to my farm. So it looks like we're going to go up to this junction here, and let's take a look. Let me shorten this to real time. And let's see how long this takes us. Mind you, in a pickup that's going to go 74. So just imagine this at a third or a fifth of this speed, which is what your farm implements would be if you were trying to go anywhere. So again, you want big fields, you want vast, vast expanses. You do have that. But just like Hastings, this becomes a map, and even more so given that this is significantly larger. So here's, you know, HH Milling Group. I think that was one of the places we could drop off grain. So those are spread a bit around the map. As a single player, this becomes almost a, you need automation. You're going to be doing the same thing where you're running 3, 5 harvesters at a time. It's still going to take you all day. You know, we've got depressions in the ground. You know, again, I guess it's, you know, it didn't say he was using DET, but might be similar, and that's what's being created there. Well, let's see, we're at 267. Alright, so we're here. We went from there. I'm trying to get to like 186, and then I'll turn south and head to my farm. So at this point, we're kind of already about 2 minutes in to moving down here. And again, this is at high speed. So we gotta get to the next road that goes north-south, and then that will take us down to our little homestead. Whoops. So as you might imagine, you know, I'll go ahead and do this little run here, but you know, even from a tour standpoint, it's fields, and it's roads, and very repetitive roads, and you know, again, you set up the road there. You can see on the mini-map, like, this is supposed to be a farm, so it's like it's sketched out, you know, and it gives you the opportunity. Alright, so this is where I want to go, but you can see the road, same texture as what we have on the farm, you know, kind of tossed down a little bit, rough. You know, width doesn't stay consistent. You know, overall just a bit challenging. And this may be, you know, what it looks like in reality. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that, you know, textures maybe vary a bit, but I guess from my standpoint, it just, I think, would get extremely repetitive. And as large as this thing is, it's just hard. Alright, so I need to turn this way. I'm still further that way. So it just gets hard to get excited about, you know, go ahead and do this. So, you know, I'm trying to start, I found a new mod that I'm just thinking I might start a new series on that might be a little bit interesting, just to test that mod out. For a hot minute, I was thinking maybe this would be a way to make this type of thing playable, because I was thinking of Hastings and like, yeah, maybe this would work. Spending a little bit of time here, no way. It's just too difficult to get into production here without it just turning into a giant automation fest where I'm just watching equipment going around, or what I typically would be doing, which is, you know, set it up to go around and then go about my day, and after 8 hours come back and hope the field is done. To me, that's not a fun way to play Farm Simulator. If people enjoy that, this map is going to give you that capability. But, so yeah. 4 or 5 minutes, as I figured, from that store. So now if I want to get up to the town area, you know, really the best way, and I mean, just to give us something different, I'm going to go down this way and then go around. Basically field 161, I'll just remember that. You know, but again, these are all just flat bottom bins, wooden pumps, just like we have, you know, on our farm. That if you want to take over a space, they at least give you water. Alright, so we'll see. 11:24. And I'll just put this on time lapse because it's going to be a lot of flat, a lot of road, and a lot of fields, so at least you'll get to see the landscape as we drive through. But you won't have to take the time to watch till we get there. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and slow down here on the edge of town, because I just want to make sure, at least what passes for town. Basically, it's just a bunch of industries. You got your biogas plant ahead, you've got your cereal factory over here, and so forth. But you'll see, 11:24, it's now 11:32. I did not drop off the accelerator really at all. So, and it's just 11:33, so 8-9 minutes, you know, 7 minutes if we're going to be generous. So you've got that, the bakery's around here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. But even in town, you know, we got some houses, this and that. You know, it's just kind of the road. You know, you can see it's the same. We do have roads that go there and so forth. Let me pull over here, stop my engine, and we'll kind of get ourselves wrapped up here. As opposed to maybe what other folks will be talking about, you know, because I think this got released to Farm Sim Guy initially. I did see, you know, that they've already been spinning up a multiplayer server for people to play on. But as opposed to what you're potentially going to be hearing, one of the things that I've just decided with my channel is, you know, I'm going to be upfront with people. I'm going to be honest of how I feel. And I struggle with this map to, you know, say it's doing anything other than trying to fill a niche of, I just gave you a giant map. There wasn't even a road sign to tell me that the town was here. I would think in a vast expanse of nothing, if this is what this really looks like in North Dakota, there would be some sort of a marker to let me know that this road, compared to all the other roads that look exactly the same throughout the county, is the road I want to go down if I want to get to the only place on the map that I can actually do anything, where I can go to the bakery and buy myself some cake, and go to the cereal factory and do some stuff with that, and get some, help make breakfast for folks. In addition, you may have noticed as I was driving that there's a river on the map, but there's no actual water. The road just dips where the river shows up on the mini-map. So they didn't even model the water. They didn't put bridges over. The other thing, as far as it being a Hastings remake, the icon in the screen when you're selecting your mods, it's still the Hastings icon. They didn't create a Spring Creek icon, so it clearly is meant to do something different with Hastings, it appears. In addition, it's important to note there are 5 or 6 other things that you need to load, other mods for buildings that come with the pack, so they're all included in the zip file. There's not a single scenario that I have attempted over time that I feel this fits well in, multiplayer or single player. It's too big to be a valid multiplayer map, frankly. Even if I had this populated with 6, 8, even 16 people, unless we all agreed to just be hanging out in one corner of the map, we'd never see each other. So even with Shellbrook that we're on, there's a little bit of that, but because that's just a 4X map, we'll bump into each other once in a while. I'm heading to town. I saw another farm manager on our multiplayer server working. It's just going to feel like a giant single player map no matter what you do. And then again, because of the scale of the fields, I want people to keep in mind the data, the analysis that you need to look at with stuff like this. Keep in mind, it took me 7 to 9 minutes, given variations and so forth, to get here at 74 kilometers per hour, whatever speed that goes in. Even if I'm hauling a truck, let's, for the benefit of the doubt, say you've got yourself a truck with 80,000 liter trailer, and you're bringing it here because you want to drop stuff off at the cereal factory, and you want to sell your crop there. We'll use Shellbrook as a good example. I've got basically 2 halves of a field that are 60 acres that I farm, and when I did wheat, I got basically, for rounding purposes, I got 500,000 liters of wheat off 60 acres. Most of these fields are triple that size. So if you were to do that, you're talking about 1.5 million liters of wheat. Divide that, by 80,000 trucks, and you're talking 20 truckloads at 7 to 9 minutes one way. All right, so you're going 14 to 18 minutes each way. And it is, to be fair, it is from kind of the corners of the map here to here, and this is a little bit north of halfway. This is a bit extreme. But even if you're, say cutting it in half, and you're in the corner and you're going to the middle, it's going to be at least 5 minutes. So you're going to have 10 minutes round trip. You're going to do that 20 times, 200 minutes. You're talking 3 hours of truck work just to get your crop to market, of gameplay time. And so I think whether you're using this as a single player map or a multiplayer map, you've got to ask yourself, is that the kind of commitment I'm looking to make? Is that really what I want to be doing? And if not, am I just looking to basically play an automated version of Farming Simulator where all I've got is a bunch of trucks on auto drive going and making deliveries? And so I enjoy that once in a while, but I don't enjoy that enough to make that the basis of my gameplay. So the challenge becomes that, just like on the Hastings series, I did it for 1 or 2 episodes because it was interesting, but then when you look at the monotony and the tedium of basically setting that up every time and then just sitting and babysitting your equipment so it doesn't fall into a ditch, just not real appealing. Visually, it's North Dakota. I mean, I get that. And I get that this is gigantic, and to probably put the time and the detail to do something like an Oxygen David does with, say, Kelmston Farms, where I have just real significant detail, and I have differences in areas, you know, and it doesn't look like every place on the map was just, you know, put in last week, and there's no city infrastructure or anything, you know, so we've got these gravel roads everywhere that aren't even nicely done. Nobody mows the lawns along the edge, this, that, and whatever. You know, I know that all that takes time, putting in signage, putting in more stuff along the roads. So I appreciate the level of effort it would take, but for me, that's what makes a map enjoyable. If you obviously haven't gotten the answer, like that, this is not a map I would get, I would play. It's too big. It's too big, and because of its size, it's not fleshed out enough. We don't even have a fuel station again, which was the first issue with initial Hastings. You know, I think there was a release that AFB did that then put a fuel station on there, but once again, that was something that certainly could have been thought of with this being a potential redo of Hastings. And there just isn't enough other variation of industry. I mean, great, I've got a lot of grain bins around the map, which is all well and good if I want to just choose where I want to set up. But at the end of the day, regardless of where you choose, you're in the middle of North Dakota. You've got minutes and minutes to get anywhere on this map to deliver your goods, unless you place your farm next to a grain mill. And then once again, what you've done is you've taken a giant map and turned it into what in essence could be a 1x map, because you're just going to live in that little section of the map. So then what's the point of having the rest of the map? So that's kind of my feedback and kind of my thoughts on this. You know, happy to chat with folks, happy to answer comments, but just disappointed when I saw this come out. Was thinking, hey, you know, definitely let's take a look. Let's give people some info. All right, so I was able to get the map to load with Courseplay after I loaded it without it to begin with. When I tried multiple times to load it, it's in the initial load. I waited up to 10 minutes and it never worked. Okay, so also loading the map, doing anything with the map. Saving took significantly longer. Loading took about 2 minutes. So you just need to be prepared because of the size of the map that you're going to be running into things like that. But it did load eventually. You know, I was just worried it was going to hang up again, but it actually didn't. So, you know, here we are. But let's take a look, and you know, I'm going to take a look at field 176 to start. All right. So as you can see, it does appear to be able to identify the field border of 176, even with those tiny openings. I guess I can get a little further in, but you can see there's an opening up there. There's also an opening down below. We'll make sure that it appears correct once we get the map, or once we get the route created. If I go to the generator and then generate, basically the game hung up and crashed trying to generate that course. So I've had to reload. I've since gone ahead and saved after I've loaded Courseplay in case I have other times I need to retry, so that at least I'm kind of where I need to be. But I'm going to try to make the simplest thing I possibly can here on 176. And I just wanted to show you just the time it even takes to drive here. So basically, you can see the little pass through of dirt there, and then at the north end we've got that. So we've in essence got a plus sign of land and trees in the middle of this field for whatever reason, which to me, again, maybe it's a real field, but to me this just seems like nobody in their right mind in North Dakota or anywhere would just not knock out those fields and make this a field. I think that would be the first thing you'd be doing, because as I think we're going to show, I'm not even going to do this with headlands. I'm just going to try to let it generate a course with no changes to the settings whatsoever, and I'm guessing that's still going to fail. All right, so it outlines the field properly. All right, and if I generate the field or course, all right, so the game crashed again, even on the base setting. So I'm going to just make sure it will work on a rectangular field. Okay, so you can see very quickly it does that. Again, obviously because these fields are skewed a bit, there's a bit of a challenge. All right, so that is good to see that on other areas where, again, we'd be buying multiple fields, they do have field boundaries defined. Well, not here, obviously. 179 and 183, or 185 and 179. I said 183 because I couldn't see the number, generate together. But here you can see 183, but then that's interesting. So 184 does it together. 269, let's see. Yeah, 184 does it together, where 183 kind of does. So there are going to be some problems. You know, again, let's see if we generate that. It is able to do so, but I was unable to get 176 to work appropriately. So I'm trying to generate 169 now, which has a little bit of an island in the center. Seems to be having some bit of trouble. So yes, this is definitely hung up again. I'm just going to try to break out of here. But I think what you can see is it's hit or miss on whether Courseplay may or may not work on your fields at all to begin with. So you're going to really just have to almost try it. If you're up for that, that's great. If not, you know, you may run into a situation where it just gets frustrating and doesn't turn into a playable situation for you. So hopefully this gives you some feedback to consider as you determine if this is a map you want to take a look at, and I'll see you next time.